Good afternoon. Let's take a few minutes to introduce you to your digital SLR camera. Digital SLR stands for Digital Single Lens Reflex Camera. It's a really nice camera system, and it's going to help you get through the semester, and it's also going to help you make some really nice images. Of course, the camera is only as important as the 12 inches that exist behind the camera when you're shooting. That's a quote by Ansel Adams. Let's talk about some of the core components of your camera. First off, let's talk about the camera lens. To release the camera lens from the body, or to change lenses, what you'll want to do is press the camera lens release button, typically located on the left side of the camera body when the camera's lens is pointing away from you, such as this. Push the lens, give the lens a little twist in a clockwise rotation, and the lens should release and be able to be removed from the camera. Now, a few things to keep in mind. When your camera lens is not attached, the glass is susceptible to being scratched. It's a really bad thing. And dirt, debris, dust, liquid, anything else that's just bad and dangerous. You just don't want it on the interior of your camera. So generally, if your camera lens is not attached to the camera, you'll want both a body cap and a lens cap on the back of the lens. So I'm going to reattach the lens now. To reattach the lens, look for a dot located on the lens and on the camera body. In the case of Nikon, the dots are white. In other cases, the dots may be orange, they may be red, depending on the camera manufacturer. Line the two dots up and nestle the lens down into the camera body. Once it feels like it's got a nice fit, give it a gentle twist in a counterclockwise motion until you hear it lock into place. Once it's locked into place, you're ready to go. As far as the camera body goes, you've got a camera body. Generally, you'll find an on-off switch located on the right-hand side and a knob with a series of icons and letters on the left-hand side. Let's talk about this knob first. On the knob, the letters that we want to focus on are the M, the A, and the S. M stands for manual. Manual mode is what I want you shooting in throughout this semester. A stands for aperture priority. Aperture priority means that you'll tell the camera what aperture to use, and the camera will adjust the shutter speed accordingly. S stands for shutter speed priority. It means you'll tell the camera what shutter speed to use, and the camera will adjust the aperture accordingly. But for our semester, let us focus solely on the manual setting. Depending on what model and brand camera you have, you'll have a rotary dial, a click wheel. This click wheel may be on the back, it may be on the front. You may have one on both the back and the front, as is the case with the Nikon D90. Now, the click wheel will either control A, the aperture, B, the shutter speed. If there's only one click wheel, it'll control both aperture and shutter speed. What you'll find is a small button. This camera doesn't have it because it has two click wheels, with an image or an aperture icon. Pushing that button will allow you to alternate the click wheel from shutter speed adjustments to aperture speed adjustments. Another button you want to find on the camera is going to be a button that says ISO. That's ISO stands for International Standards Organization. The ISO controls how sensitive the light sensor is to light. A low ISO number, for instance 100, is going to have a camera that is not super sensitive to light. A high ISO speed will increase the camera sensitivity to light and allow you to shoot in darker scenes. We'll talk more about ISO in a separate talk. On the bottom of your camera, you'll find a small threaded hole. That hole is for the tripod. So you'll be able to use the camera for long exposures or simply as a means to reduce camera shake when trying to photograph wildlife, birds, sports, whatever instances you may be using a zoom lens to zoom in on, or to simply do self-portraits. You'll also find a latch. The latch in this case holds the camera battery. You'll want to be sure to keep your camera battery charged. It's not a bad idea to have at least one extra battery, if not two, if not three or four, depending on where and what you'll be shooting. Always make sure you've got the battery charged before you leave in the morning, and if possible, have a second, third, or fourth backup battery along with you. Sometimes you'll find the card mounted, the memory slot, located in the same slot as the battery. In the case of the D90, the media slot's on the side. Opening that will reveal your card media. The D90 uses a SD card. Some cameras use SD, some use compact flash, some use XD, some use memory sticks. Again, it just depends on what brand you're using. What you'll want to keep in mind is that A, you always have memory media with you. Oops. And B, you've always got backup media close by. For instance, if you're using a 2 gig card, you run out of those images to store on that card. You don't want to be forced to delete images on that card to make room for new. You want to simply be able to remove the card and put a fresh card in. Whenever you first buy a new card, what I always like to do is put the card in the camera, go to the camera's internal menu settings. Somewhere on the back of your camera, you'll see an option for menu. Click that. Scroll down until you see something that says Format Memory Card. Hit the OK button or Enter button and cycle through that process. Now know that once you format a card, it deletes everything on that card. It's a really good thing to do every time you clear the card or download images to your computer or hard drive. Or B, when you buy a new card, to make sure that the card and the camera agree or get along together really well. Okay, that's it for the introduction to your DSLR. Look for future videos on aperture, on ISO, on shutter speed, and on a variety of other elements related to making strong images. Thank you. Bye-bye.